If a serial killer's soul inhabited a toy doll you bought for your son, what would you do? In this How to Beat video, we'll follow the Barclays, see if we can make better decisions, and ultimately attempt to beat Chucky in Child's Play. If you think you have a better way, let me know in the comments. If you like these How to Beat videos, consider liking and subscribing. This video is brought to you by the Ridge Wallet. I'm not going to try to tell you how a Ridge Wallet would help you survive an apocalypse, because 1, people will be trading bullets, gas, and medication instead of cash, and 2, you'd already be dead. I will tell you how the Ridge Wallet can beat your everyday problems though. Style. Yes, it's an everyday problem for you. As they say, anything worth doing is worth looking cool doing it. Its design is sleek and modern, yet has a rugged industrial look to it. I've got the forged carbon wallet, but there's over 30 colors and styles to choose from, including carbon fiber and burnt titanium. The Ridge wallets adopt a minimalist form follows function design principle. Functionally, it'll hold up to 12 cards plus cash, while still being thin and light so that it doesn't compromise your pocket situation. The wallet is basically the same size as the cards themselves, which makes a big difference in feel when compared to traditional wallets. The durable material means each wallet comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this one wallet and carry it for life, but you don't have to take one nerd's word for it. There's 40,000 5-star reviews and a 45 money day back guarantee. The Ridge also has phone wallets for the ultra minimalists, weatherproof backpacks, duffel bags, keychains, and even knives. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by going to theridge.com/nerdexplains and use code NERDEXPLAINS. Links in the description. We start out following Charles Lee Ray, a serial killer on the run from homicide detective Mike Norris. His getaway driver Eddie Caputo panics when the cops show up and takes off without him. Should have hired Baby instead. He gets cornered in a toy store and takes a shot to the right lung.
I'm gonna get you for it!
This store can't be that big. Shouting your monologue like that should make it easy for Mike to find and kill you. They obviously up the reverb in the audio for effect, because there's no way Mike would be that clueless as to the origin of Charles's voice. He should be able to just run up on him and get to blasting.
Give me the power I beg of you!
Bro, seriously, how can you not find the one guy yelling like a maniac in an empty store at night and not take him down? I mean, look at this shot. The building's not even that big. Mr. Magoo is too busy getting turned around in the tiny toy store to stop Charles from casting some voodoo spells which transfer his soul out of his dying body and into a good guy's doll. Yeah, there's no way Mike could have anticipated that move though. I know this guy's a bit unhinged at the moment, but transferring your soul into a sterile plastic doll seems like a fresh hell you would want no part of. Guess it's better than the witch in Friend Request having to hang herself over a bonfire in order to transfer her soul into the Black Mirror computer dimension. I don't know. Which would you guys rather have your soul be transferred into? A Black Mirror dimension or a Chucky doll? Personally, I just take the L and go out guns blazing. The soul transference causes a massive explosion, sending Mike flying ass first. The morning after the incident, we start following Andy on his birthday. The only thing more disturbing than his breakfast is his infatuation with the good guy's doll. It just seems weird to me. Action figures and little green army men make sense, but a Cabbage Patch Kids doll nearly the size of a 6-year-old would, I'd think, be creepy to a kid. I'm just glad that nowadays you can buy a kid a tablet with an internet connection and be good. All these parents bitching about their kids being inseparable from their phones need to realize that their alternative could be a bunch of creepy dolls left all over the house that may or may not come to life and murder you. Andy's mom is struggling to make ends meet and cannot afford the $100 price to buy him his favorite psycho doll at retail stores. Who the fuck would pay $100 for that doll? I'd pay $100 to not have that doll in my possession. Alas, she doesn't want to disappoint Andy, so to make his birthday special, she resorts to buying a doll off a suspect homeless man who no doubt looted it. What are the odds that he snagged the one doll with Charles Lee Ray inside it? Actually, the explosion probably destroyed most of the other dolls, with the voodoo magic protecting the Chucky one. So, fairly likely considering he'd want to steal the undamaged one. Now that I think of it, this movie's like the Turbo Man from hell.
These guys are looking for a Turbo Man? A gentleman dog, yes.
Andy's mom has to pull a second shift, so she has her friend Maggie babysit him. While babysitting, Andy tells her that Chucky wants to watch the 9 o'clock news. Shouldn't a 6-year-old be smart enough to realize that something is off about this doll? Guess not. The real nightmare begins after Maggie puts Andy to bed, and then finds Chucky watching the news on Eddie Caputo's escape from prison. Disconcerting, but the only reasonable explanation a sane person would conclude is that Andy put him there. She puts Chucky back, kicks up on the couch, but then she hears and sees something sneak past her out of the corner of her eye. Must have been my imagination. She then hears another noise in the hallway. As far as she'd think, it's Andy staying up and playing with this stupid doll. Side note, I hate couches like that with your backside exposed. Anyone could sneak up on you and slip some piano wire around your neck. Like I've talked about in previous videos, following strange noises like this is like following an evil jelly bean trail right into a trap. At this point, I'd yell at Andy to stop f***ing around unless he wants me to get the belt out. This would be a pretty common sense move. Andy would come out of his bedroom, at which point Maggie would realize that he didn't open the front door or make the noises in the living room. At which point, she would grab Andy, leave the apartment, and call the cops because there may be an intruder. Maggie decides to tiptoe into the kitchen where a jar of flour was knocked over and immediately lets her guard down. I don't know why though, because that jar obviously didn't knock itself over. She then hears another noise behind some flowers. How Chucky made those noises when he wasn't over there doesn't make any sense, but Maggie falls for the setup and takes a tiny toy hammer to the face. See, this is why you need a dog. There's no way Chucky could have snuck around and gotten a jump on her like this with a shepherd around. Also, whoever designed those windows needs to be fired. There is no way it's legal to have windows that are that fragile and placed on a 10th story apartment. Karen clocks out and heads home to find cops and ambulances everywhere. She proceeds to walk straight past the crime scene tape, past all the cops, and literally walks right into the crime scene without anyone stopping her or noticing. I'm pretty sure that's not allowed because she could be fucking up all the evidence, but okay. Detective Mike Norris is on the case, back on duty not a day after being involved in a fatal shootout and getting blown up in a freak toy store explosion. Did they really not give this guy the day off? He ascertains that she was hit in the face by a toy hammer from a child-sized person standing on the counter, as evidenced by the footprints in the flour. Obviously, Andy murdered Maggie because she wouldn't let him stay up late watching cartoons and eating sugary bowls of cereal.
I feel something big here. I'd be surprised to see a lot of these turning up.
Sure, there are footprints on the counter, but if you took a second to check the sizing of Andy's shoes, you'd realize they didn't match. Kid was probably playing with the doll on the counter, and then someone broke in thinking that nobody was home since Karen had to pull a second shift. When the intruder realized that Maggie was home, a tussle occurred and Maggie got shoved out the window. To me, this is way more plausible. Karen flips out when Mike suggests that Andy was a suspect and orders the police to clear out of her home. I don't think that's how these things work, lady. I think you need to go to a hotel room for the night while the detectives investigate the crime scene and question witnesses.
You gonna call me?
You don't give up, do you?
I hate loose ends.
And I hate people who don't know when to stop.
Oh, you mean like a homicide detective trying to solve the murder of your friend? Yeah, they're so pesky. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because nobody will suspect the doll is being the murderer. There's not much Andy can do because Chucky will have threatened him with death if he tries anything. Karen sits Andy down to try to find out what happened, and Andy says that Chucky told him his real name is Charles Lee Ray. Your son saying his doll calls himself by an infamous serial killer's name would be off-putting, but it's possible that she didn't see the news and doesn't recognize the name.
He said that Maggie was a real bitch and got what she deserved.
What an absolute savage. He probably should have just kept his mouth shut on that one. Karen leaves the room and tries to snoop on Andy's conversation with his doll. She's got the right idea, but her execution is flawed. The light behind her casts a shadow into the room, which betrays her presence. It shouldn't be hard to realize you're casting a shadow and Andy could see that you're still there, in which case he won't reveal whatever weird shit he's up to. It's like trying to spy out of your window at night with the lights on behind you. I guess you can't expect the jewelry salesman at Macy's to be tactical. If she was a better spy, she might have been able to overhear something. Still, it's unlikely, as Chucky would be quietly whispering to Andy. The next morning, Karen drops Andy off at school, but under the threat of murder and ending up like Maggie, Andy takes Chucky to where Chucky thinks Eddie Caputo is hiding. I get that Andy's a 6-year-old, so this strategy might not have dawned on him, but he could go along with the plan initially, grab a lighter from home, and then take Chucky to a public place and set him on fire. If Chucky fought back, everyone nearby would witness a doll coming to life and help Andy destroy it. If Chucky did nothing, well, the doll would simply burn to ashes along with Charles's soul. I'm starting to think that the Good Guys Doll Company is brainwashing these kids through subliminal messaging in their shows. How else could you explain Andy running into a dilapidated ghetto building that he just heard gunshots coming from, likely from an escaped fugitive Chucky told him he was trying to find, to rescue a doll that was possessed by a serial killer who murdered his babysitter and had threatened to kill him if he didn't do what it said? Just run home. Chucky rigs up a classic homemade gas bomb with the oven, lays another evil jelly bean trail of strange noises, and Eddie falls for the bait. If there was that much gas in the building, you'd think Eddie would have smelled it and bounced, or at least not have kicked open the door to the kitchen and started blasting away at shadows. Good thing Andy wised up and walked away from the dope house before it exploded. Somehow this 6-year-old boy became the primary suspect for the murder, and with no evidence, they sentenced him to a psychiatric hospital. Poor Andy, he's just getting shit on from both sides. Karen takes the Chucky doll back home to interrogate it. From her perspective, she's clearly losing her mind. Somewhat understandable given the events that have unfolded. As tempting as it is to put the doll in the oven and crank the temp up, she's desperate to prove her son is innocent. Destroying the doll wouldn't help Andy's case. If she wanted to prove Andy was innocent and thought that the doll might be alive because, again, she's losing it mentally, then why not force the doll to make a move while you were in the police station? All you need to do is start ripping its legs and arms off. She then picks up the box that Chucky came in, and the batteries fall out. Now it's getting creepy. She then hesitantly picks up the doll to check if there were batteries pre-installed.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
It's not a 100% confirmation that the doll is alive, but it's pretty goddamn close. Close enough that she should just destroy it the next chance she gets. I would not be sticking my head under the couch like that. You're just asking to get a toy knife shoved in your eye. She should just flip the couch over and then grab him. Karen wises up, lights the fireplace, and threatens to throw him in unless he says something.
I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch!
I'm not sure what she was expecting. Of course, if Chucky was real like she was trying to prove, he would be forced to fight her when she threatened him like that. I don't think she was anticipating him being that strong, but she did suspect that he murdered Maggie, which would indicate that he had some level of strength, which would mean that he might be more difficult to handle than she'd think. The general idea here is that you don't threaten to kill someone unless you're in a definitively advantageous position to carry out the killing, which Karen wasn't. She should not have revealed her intentions before securing her position of power over him. Basically, she should have taken him over to the kitchen to read the instructions on the box he came in or something, and then stuffed him into the oven. From there, she could threaten him and he wouldn't be able to fight back. Throwing Chucky across the room was a dumb move too. The fireplace was literally right next to you. Why not throw him in there if it was so easy? Chucky's power comes from his ability to surprise his prey. Knowing he can't win a fight with her head to head, he runs off. Karen could just let the doll go. Nobody will believe her, and she's not equipped to deal with that kind of threat. She will still be able to get Andy back because with no actual evidence condemning Andy as a murderer, they can't keep him locked up in a psych ward for long. Still, Chucky murdered Maggie and ruined Andy's life. Revenge is running through her veins. If she wants any chance at finding Chucky, she needs to find out more about Charles Lee Ray, his home, his motivations, his friends and family. She goes to the police station again, but Mike's no help, so she decides her next best option is to wander back alleys by herself in search of a creepy peddler who sold her the doll. Unsurprisingly, that peddler's less than empathetic about her situation.
Hey. Oh, Christ, he's a cop!
She got really lucky. The detective actually gave a shit about her to follow her and make sure she was safe. This movie easily could have turned into a I Spit on Your Grave crossover. Mike reveals to her that he killed Charles Lee Ray, but that Charles had been yelling voodoo chants before getting struck by lightning. He still doesn't believe the doll is alive yet, but it's weird enough that he heads back to the police station to reopen the investigation. Let's do some bad detective work for Mike's POV. He fatally wounded Charles Lee Ray in a toy store, but before he died, he was yelling voodoo chants. On a clear night sky, storm clouds rolled in above and lightning hit Charles directly. You then found him next to a good guy's doll, and you just found out that Karen bought one of those same dolls from a peddler who looted it from that same store the morning after the incident. Later that night, Karen's friend was murdered. The next day, Eddie Caputo, the man he swore to get back at, got murdered as well. And then there's Mike, the other man he swore to get back at. If that doesn't make you a bit paranoid, I don't know what will. On his way back, Mike makes the rookie mistake of getting into his car without checking the back seat. You'd think he would, considering everything we just talked about. Now Mike has a killer doll trying to stab his balls through the car seat while he's going 40 miles per hour. There's no way this ends well. To make matters worse, the brake pedal on his cheap piece of shit car falls off while Chucky jams the accelerator. Mike spins the car out safely, but then stupidly straightens the wheel out, which enables the car to gain lethal levels of speed again. If he had just held the steering wheel cranked to the side, the car wouldn't be able to gain any speed. He'd just be doing donuts. Of course, that still leaves the problem of Chucky, but without the threat of a high-speed collision, he can then focus on fucking the doll up. This mistake made the car uncontrollable and a crash inevitable. I always hate these scenes in the movies where the person is floundering in the upside-down car while being attacked. Inside an upside-down car is the worst position you could possibly be in. I know he just crashed and is probably disoriented, but he seems to be with it, so he should have been able to crawl his ass out of there ASAP. Even though he was disoriented and jacked up on adrenaline from the crash, Mike is able to land a shot on Chucky's shoulder, forcing him to flee to his voodoo doctor for help.
Last night I got shot. It hurt like a son of a bitch, it even bled. Why is that, John?
You're turning human?
His voodoo teacher answers that the more time he spends in that body, the more human he becomes, and that eventually he will be stuck in that body forever if he doesn't transfer his soul out of it soon. This is why you want to read the fine print on the voodoo rituals before using them. Naturally, Chucky wants answers as to how to transfer his soul out of the doll, but John refuses, declaring him an abomination that must be stopped. John. Why would you reveal your intentions prematurely? You know you're dealing with a magic doll possessed by the soul of a serial killer who you think needs to be stopped. Of course he's gonna be pissed and attack you when you refuse to help. You should have just gone along with trying to help him while plotting out a way to defeat him.
Shouldn't tell your customers where you hide things like this, John. Gets you in trouble every time.
He's right, you know. Telling a serial killer the location of your personal voodoo doll was flat out idiotic. Why even have a voodoo doll like that around in the first place? That's like wearing a bomb vest and keeping the detonator on the counter. At least put it in a vault, for Christ's sake. John's stupidity leads to him getting tortured into telling Chucky that in order to get out of the doll, he needs to swap souls with the first person he revealed himself to, which would be Andy. John screwed up here again. By giving Chucky the answer, he just gave up his only bargaining chip and immediately became expendable.
So long, John.
Karen and Mike show up just after the stabbing. John holds out long enough to mutter that he was an asshole and told Chucky to swap souls with her child. He does also mention that the only way to kill Chucky was to shoot him through the heart he was forming. They don't have time to fact check it, but it sounds plausible. Jesus, they really put a 6-year-old in a derelict psychiatric hospital because they thought it wasn't healthy for a 6-year-old to have an imaginary friend after the kid suffered immense psychological trauma from witnessing a murder. Yeah, this prison is definitely a healthier way to rehabilitate him than seeing a therapist 2 times a week. Andy spots Chucky coming for him, and after seeing what he's capable of, knows that this is bad news. He stages a classic prison escapee move by putting pillows under the sheets to fake Chucky out so he could grab the keys and run. While not guaranteed to work because he couldn't have relied on Chucky dropping the keys and Chucky could have entered through the window bars, it's still a pretty good plan, especially for a 6-year-old. Not sure there was much else he could have done. Andy's kind of screwed regardless. Barclays. There's nowhere to run, so the psycho doctor catches him and tries to inject him with a tranquilizer. Chucky also catches up with him and gives the doctor a taste of his own electroshock therapy. While Chucky's getting hot and bothered watching the doctor get electrocuted to death, Andy escapes back to his home. This is such an obvious move that Chucky would anticipate. I still think going to a public location surrounded by people and payphoning his mom would be best. Sure enough, Chucky's right on his tail.
Ugly doll.
Fuck you.
I just had to include that. Andy would know by now that Chucky is actually pretty strong, and he probably would not win a physical altercation against him. However, hiding in a closet is a terrible idea, because it's literally the first place anyone checks. Andy opts for a frontal engagement with his toy bat. Why not grab a knife from the kitchen? Doesn't really matter though. Andy's not going to be outsmarting what is essentially a mid-30-year-old serial killer that has much more experience hunting humans. Karen and Mike better hustle their asses up or Andy is going to be swapping bodies with Chucky. Dude, just shoot the lock. That weak-ass shouldering is wasting precious time. They bust in and throw the doll across the room and then both proceed to ignore it like it is not capable of murdering them. Again, stop throwing your enemies and giving them the opportunity to re-engage. You especially don't want Chucky escaping and coming back to kill you at a later date when your guard is down. And again, stop bending down to check under the beds and making yourself vulnerable. Just flip the bed. Who'd have thought Karen owned a gat? She lands a solid hit on Chucky's leg, but her gun jams, so she tosses it on the floor and runs. The gun jamming was likely caused by her limp wristing it, common for inexperienced shooters. Basically, she didn't hold a stiff enough grip on the pistol frame to prevent it from traveling rearward while the slide was cycling back and forth. Thus, the action couldn't generate enough opposing force to properly eject and seat a new round. She didn't have the time or experience to remediate it before Chucky charged again, but throwing it on the ground in front of him was incredibly stupid. Not only did you give up your only weapon, which you could have run off with and cleared by pulling the mag out and cycling the action, but Chucky could have picked the pistol up, cleared the jam, and used it against you. It's a good thing Chucky's stupid too, because he runs past the gun to try to physically fight people way stronger than him. Karen overpowers him and this time manages to throw him into the fireplace.
Andy, no, please.
There's no reason you shouldn't have tried to hold the gate shut so Chucky fully melted down and didn't run through your living room lighting everything on fire. Karen and Andy both leave the doll to go check on Mike, which was a mistake. Mike only got cut and bopped in the head with a toy bat. He wasn't fatally wounded in any way. This serial killer doll is possessed by strong voodoo magic, so there's no way you can be sure it's dead after burning it up a bit. The only way to make sure it won't come back to kill you is by putting it in the fireplace and melting it down to ashes. Karen then sends Andy to walk past the presumed dead killer doll to get the first aid kit. How about Mike gets off his ass and you all make sure Chucky is 100% dead before sending Andy off to get Mike a Dora the Explorer band-aid. Wow, what a shocker. The magic doll you burnt up a bit isn't dead.
Hello, Andy.
Say what you want about the good guys' company, but they sure do know how to make a durable doll. There's no doubt that blowing Chucky into pieces is effective at incapacitating him, but again, she needs to vaporize the doll. It's obvious now that the magic in Charles's soul will persist until it's gone completely. Mike's detective friend shows up, casually waltzing into the apartment after hearing all those gunshots pop off. He's understandably in disbelief. It's not like they had body cams, but he gets his introduction to Chucky's rage soon enough. I still don't understand how a blown to pieces doll has enough strength to fight an adult human. It's missing an arm and a leg too. It shouldn't have any leverage to hold on with. Magic voodoo. How does it even work? Karen finally remembers what the voodoo doc said. The movie ends with them leaving the scene to go to a hospital. Once again, they assume the magic killer doll is dead and leave it by itself. You're dealing with an incredibly powerful magic you don't understand, and Chucky has proven to be resilient to most of your attacks so far. Mike will be fine and can go to a hospital later. Their priority should be to ensure that Chucky is 100% stopped. Burning the doll to ashes is a start, but they also need to go back to John's house and read up on the voodoo spells to make sure they fully stop the curse. They can't really report anything to the police because they have no proof and people will think they're crazy. They will need to come up with a story as to why they were shooting their firearms in the apartment though. Then Mike can go to the hospital. Karen should probably go too and get that Chucky bite wound checked out. Let's recap who would have lived or died with our help. When Maggie realized the front door was unlocked and heard a noise in the living room, she should have yelled for Andy, grabbed him, and left the apartment. If she did this, she likely would have survived. After Chucky murdered Maggie, he threatened Andy into taking him to Eddie Caputo. Andy should have detoured into a public area and then lit the doll on fire or destroyed it somehow. Chucky couldn't fight back lest he'd be found out. Eddie Caputo should have smelled the gas and immediately left without firing his weapon. He likely could have survived. John should not have kept his personal voodoo doll out in the open. I think he could have survived any physical altercation had Chucky not had his voodoo doll. After the gunshot to Chucky's heart, Mike and Karen should have destroyed the doll completely and then come up with an alibi. Reporting the incident and leaving Chucky's corpse intact led to the events that unfolded in Child's Play 2. Speaking of, let me know if you want me to cover the sequels. All said and done, I think we could have beaten Chucky from Child's Play. Thanks for watching, and remember, helping to educate serial killers in the voodoo arts is a bad idea.